The C1 is used to print substrate strips with offset inks in an ink film thickness which simulates actual practice. The prints are used, among other things, for spectrophotometric or visual appraisal of the color, to determine gloss abrasion resistance, adhesion and flexibility of the ink on all sorts of substrate, ranging from paper to tin. The machine is suitable for all sorts of offset inks, both conventional and UV curing. The C1 functions like a printing press, a printing form, printing disc, and an impression cylinder. To ink the printing disc, the machine has an inking unit consisting of 2 aluminium drums and a rubber or elastomer top roller. The printing force of the C1 can be set between 100 and 1000 N. As a rule, the printing force will be set between 200 and 450 N, depending upon the nature of the substrate. The rougher the substrate, the higher the printing force. The printing speed is 0.3 meters per second. To make a test print, the ink pipette, as shown, is filled. By rotating the section with the plunger, the ink is drawn into the pipette. Check for proper filling without air bubbles. By moving the slide, the correct printing force is set. The printing disc is placed on the shaft of the substrate guide. A top roller is placed on the inking unit, after which a quantity of ink is applied with the ink pipette. The most simple method is to apply the ink in strips. By depressing the button at the bottom right-hand side, the ink is distributed. After about 30 seconds, the printing disc is brought into contact with the inking unit, after which the printing disc is removed from it and, if desired, weighed on an analytical balance with an accuracy of at least 0.1 milligram. The printing disc is then slid onto the printing disc shaft on the machine. The substrate, which is attached to the substrate carrier, is placed between the printing disc and the impression cylinder. By depressing the buttons on the left and right of the C1, the printing force is applied and the print made. By releasing the buttons, the printing disc is lifted off. If desired, the printing disc can be weighed again to calculate the difference in ink transfer to the substrate. After the test print has been made, the printing disc and the inking unit are cleaned. The print made can be used for visual, spectrophotometric, or other kinds of appraisal. In addition to the C1, IGT can also provide the F1 and the G1.